Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today, I will be talking about 4 new character-specific epithets I have gotten in Umamusume Pretty Derby. This is the 4th and most updated version of my epithet tier list as of now. With the new scenario Trailblazer out at the time of this recording, which is 24th March 2026, I have decided to revamp my tier list. I will speak about it with more details towards the end of this video. Usually, I would go through 5 epithets for every epithet video, but this time it will be 4 so I can explain my new tier list and how I rank them. The next epithet video will also contain 4 or 5 new epithets, depending on if I get a new Uma by the time I'm done with that video, so that I can evenly spread out the new epithets I've gotten into 2 videos. As always, I am a completionist and I want to get every character-specific epithet in this game, although this is still as hard. That's because the gacha in this game sucks a lot. I recently did 80 pulls on the Satono Diamond banner and got absolutely nothing. Now, not only am I broke, I also have no new Umas, so the next video after the 5th epithet video will be probably in a very long time later. Who knows? Without further ado, let's get straight into the basics and limitations. The Umas for this video are stated in the timestamps. If the Uma you're looking for isn't in this video, it might be in either of the first 3 epithet videos. Here is a list of the Umas that have appeared in each video. The links of the 3 videos as well as the epithet playlist are in the description or at the end of the video. All my recommended support cards and skills are in the first epithet video. Yet again, the link of the first video and playlist are either at the end of the video or in the description. For epithets, I only have 35 out of the 39 Umas that I own. I also do not have certain Uma as the gacha rates in this game are once again ass. If I do somehow manage to get them in the future, they will be in the next epithet video. These epithets are also done in their initial 3-star form with the exception of Seiun Sky and Mihono Bourbon, which I have at 4 stars. Most of these Umas are at least potential level 3 and it is not necessary to level them up, but doing so might help you in the long run. Lastly, these are just my opinions on how easy or hard these epithets are to get. You might find it easier or harder, and that's fine. I just want to provide some tips for those who want to get their favorite Uma specific epithet. With that out of the way, let's get into the new epithets. In the just need a bit of luck tier, there are 2 Umas belonging to this tier. Let's go through what this tier requires. Besides stats, a bit of luck is needed to obtain these epithets. They do not require a lot of conditions to obtain, which also includes not needing to complete the career, winning the URA finals and any other related races, or being the most popular in a race. They however can be a bit tougher to achieve, but they are not as hard, and they can be accomplished in about 1 to 5 runs, more if you're unlucky and lesser if you're luckier. The first Uma in this category is Hishi Akebono, and her epithet is Colossus. Win the Yasuda Kinan and the Mao Championship, win the Sprinter Stakes 2 times in a row, and attain at least 1200 power. Her base stats are A for Sprint, B for Mao, B for Front, and A for Pace. You should run her in Pace, although Front can also be used. For her legacies, just put Power. The more stars, the better. And it also preferably boosts the Mao aptitude to A. For support cards, it can be 3 speed 2 wit 1 recall, 3 speed 2 power 1 recall, 2 speed 2 wit 2 power, or 2 speed 2 wit and 2 10% or above race bonus cards. Though her epithet may sound a little daunting, it is actually relatively easy to achieve it. It only took me 3 tries before getting this epithet. Firstly, the races are pretty easy to win. You can win any year of the Yasuda Kinan and Mao Championship. They even appear in Akebono's career path, so you do not need to go out of your way to schedule it. For the sprinter stakes, the classic year is a bit tough in the URA scenario and the Unity Cup scenario. I lost this race for the first 2 tries that I did in the Unity Cup scenario. I think Akebono's skill isn't really that good, but the race is winnable as long as you got the acceleration and the velocity skills. However, in Track Blazer, it is relatively easier to win the sprinter stakes because the opponents are mostly normal and not buffed up in the storyline. 1200 power may sound tough, but it really isn't. Remember that when you're upgrading speed, you're also upgrading power. Combined with the Power Legacy Sparks and Unity Cup Spirit Burst or the Track Blazer shop or the Track Blazer race bonuses when you win a certain race or a certain rival, you should be able to hit the cap most of the time. Because she only races in mile or sprint races, and if you're training her, you will probably put her in sprints, so you can put all your legacies on power and train speed or power without needing to care too much for stamina. If however, should you still need a bit of stamina though, training power will also give you stamina. You can use Rico 2 for the stamina boost at the end of the career. Overall, this epithet isn't too bad. It is one of the easier ones in my opinion, and with a few tries, this is achievable. The second Uma in this category is Seiun Sky, and her epithet is called Trickster. Win the Satsuki Show, Kikuka Show, Aoyama Kinen Classic Year, and Tenno Show Spring as a frontrunner, maintaining the lead from 200 meters from the start until the finish in the Kikuka Show. Her base stats are A for medium and long, A for front, and B for pace. Run her as a front runner because that's where her unique skill works the best. For legacies, Stamina Sparks works the best. The more stars, the better. For support cards, you can either use 3 speed, 2 stamina, 1 recall, 2 speed, 2 wit, 2 stamina, or 2 speed, 2 wit, and 2 support cards that have a race bonus of 10% or more each. This epithet was a little bit harder than I had expected. I thought it was going to be quite easy, but it's not. Let's break down the epithet. First, it is about winning the specific races as a frontrunner. Satsuki Show is easy, while the Aoyama Kinen Classic Year is pretty okay since you would have better stats by that time. The problems in this epithet are the other 2 long races you need to win, which is the Kikuka Show and the Tenno Show Spring. For Tenno Show Spring, it is gonna be a bit tougher. I know I always say this race is hard, and most players by now should most likely know how to win this, but I'm taking precaution just in case. You need around 700 stamina and above, with a goal recovery skill like swinging maestro. This is because Seiun is a frontrunner, so to keep the lead, she needs both good stats and skills. The second and most difficult part of the epithet is in the Kikuka Show. You basically have to be in the lead from the 200 meter mark to the end of the track. You need to be in the lead for about 95% of the track, and this can be a bit tough because sometimes the opponent might overtake you at any point after the 200 meter mark. Even if you did win the race afterwards, it doesn't count because you weren't in the lead almost the whole time. That could kill your epithet run immediately. And you also need to remember this, although I think it's quite obvious, but there's only one Kikuka Show in the whole career. So if you didn't get the lead from 200 meters all the way to the end in Kikuka Show, or if anyone somehow passes you after the 200 meter mark, the epithet run is over and you have to restart or do another run in order for you to get another goal at the epithet. This is a bit easier in the Track Blazer scenario because if you lose the race, you could retry it again with an alarm clock, although it doesn't really allow you to retry again even if you get first but did not get the lead from the 200 meter to the end of the race. You definitely need to buy some velocity skills and a recovery skill. The more skills, the better. You also need some good stats. try to aim for about 500 speed as well as 500 to 600 stamina. Width is not super necessary, but the optimal range might be about 200 to 300. Overall, this epithet isn't super hard, but it can be difficult to get it if you're a bit unlucky, especially during the Kikuka show. Well, at least they didn't ask Seiun to be the favorite, so that's pretty much a relief. For the stats, skills and luck tier, there is only one Uma in the tier. So let's get a recap on what the tier is about. Just like the category's name, you need stats, skills and luck to obtain these epithets. It does require some conditions to obtain, like getting a certain position in a race or getting a certain amount of wins. These conditions are way more demanding. One wrong move or not successfully hitting a part of the requirement might just ruin the whole run. There is a certain difficulty in completing these prerequisites. You need to plan for this. Lastly, these epithets can be accomplished in 1 to 9 runs, depending on if you're lucky or else more if you're unlucky. The Uma in this tier list is Eishin Flash, and her epithet name is called Blinding Flash. Win the Japanese Derby and Tennosho Autumn as a late surger and complete the playthrough with the fast learner condition. Her base stats are A for medium and long, B for pace, and A for late. You should run her in the late surger as that's what the epithet needs. For legacies, you can either go with stamina and power or purely stamina. For the deck, it can be 4 speed, 1 stamina, plus any support card that can give pace or late surger skill, 1 recall, or you can get 2 speed, 2 wit, and 2 stamina, or 2 speed, 2 wit, and 2 support cards that have a race bonus of 10% or more each. I've heard a lot of things about this epithet. Back when I did a post on Reddit about the epithets, or when I search up similar posts, lots of people would say Eishin Flash has one of the hardest epithets to achieve, all because of the RNG aspect. While I do agree that the luck aspect is very annoying, I still think that it is not as tough as most people make it out to be. Let's go through the epithet. First, you have to win the Japanese Derby and Tennosho Autumn as a late surger. For Japanese Derby, you do need to win it as there are no other time in the career that this race appears again, so don't get second place or below or else the run is ruined. In track placer scenario, you could retry this run again, so it is a little bit easier. For Tennosho Autumn, you could either win the classic or senior year, so there's more flexibility here. Eishin's Flash career has also the senior year Tennosho Autumn in the path, and it requires you to be first, so you don't necessarily have to schedule for the classic year. The hardest part about this epithet is getting the fast learner status. It has a random chance of appearing, and although I do not know the exact way, all you can do for this is pray. I mean, there's not really a workable way around to get a fast learner status other than, through her events, and even that is not a guarantee to appear. The event has to appear first, and that itself might already be tough. There is also a pretty high chance that the event plays out, but it does not give you the fast learner, which essentially will just ruin the whole epithet run. It's basically just RNG inside RNG. One more thing to take note, it's better to try and get this epithet through her original Uma form, as she has 2 events that has a chance to get fast learner, whereas her Valentine's alternate only has 1. 2 isn't much, but it's better than 1, right? But guess which one I got though? I mean, it's pretty obvious from the screenshot, but if you couldn't tell, it's the Valentine's version. And oh boy, did I have a hard time getting that epithet. And I calculated the number of runs that I did. In total, I did 21 runs, be it completed or dropped halfway, before I got the fast learner status, because the Valentine version only has 1 event that has a chance to even get the fast learner, and if I don't get that, I immediately quit. Overall, this epithet isn't practically hard to get. The requirements for it are just above average difficulty, but it's also not like super hard to get. You just need a lot of luck to get the fast learner status, and that could take a very long time depending on how lucky you are. Lastly, we have one Uma in the tough to get category. So let's go through that category. In this category, you need good stats, skills, and luck to obtain these epithets. They require conditions that are very hard to achieve, such as winning as the most popular while having length difference or being very specific. These conditions are very tough. Like the previous tier, one wrong move or not successfully hitting a part of the requirement might just ruin the whole run. There is a high difficulty completing these prerequisites. You need to plan for this, and failure rates are quite high here. These epithets can be accomplished in 1 to 10 runs depending on if you're lucky or else more if unlucky. The Uma in this category is Mihono Bourbon, and her epithet is called Incline Invictor. Win the Asahi High FS, Satsuki Show, and Japanese Derby as favorite using front runner while undefeated, and attain at least 1200 stamina. For her base stats, it is A for medium, B for mile and long, and A for front. You should run her in the front runner strategy because that's her best strategy and the epithet requires you to do so. For her legacies, you need stamina sparks. The more stars, the better. Preferably something that could boost her mount aptitude too. For the support cards, it can be 3 speed, 2 stamina, 1 recall, 2 speed, 3 stamina, 1 recall, 2 speed, 2 wit, and 2 stamina, or 2 speed, 2 wit, and 2 other cards that have a race bonus of 10% or more each. Well, side note, I finally got the Clanker, though I got the stronger and better version instead, which is the Valentine's version. Anyways, the epithet is relatively easy to understand, but it can be a bit tricky to get. The first part of this epithet requires you to win 3 G1 races, namely the Asahi High Futurity Stakes, the Satsuki Show, and the Japanese Derby, all while being the most popular, undefeated, and running as a front runner. The most popular part is not too bad because the 3 races are in the early stages, so it's not that bad. The Clanker also performs the best as a front runner, so all you need to do is have decent speed and stamina while having a decent amount of wit, and you could win while being the most popular. In the Trailblazer scenario, even if you do get second and below for the races, you could just retry them with an alarm clock, which makes this a bit easier. And now, all of this sounds very easy, right? But there are 2 things that make it quite hard. Number 1 is the undefeated part. You're probably wondering, what's hard about that? It's just winning 3 races in a row. I don't need to participate in another race, so it won't affect my winning streak. Well, say hello to Spring Stakes, a mile career race in between Asahi High Futurity Stakes and Satsuki Show. If you lose that race, boom, your epithet run is over. So you have to train good stats before the Spring Stakes because Satsuki Show is right after that race. In Trailblazer scenario, you could just once again retry with the alarm clocks, so it's not that bad. And in Mant, you don't have to run the Spring Stakes, so you can just skip that race and go for the Satsuki Show instead. So you have at least one more turn to either get stats from training, or you can get stats from winning a race and defeating a rival Uma in the race at that turn. She sometimes have mood down events that happen frequently, especially before races or after you do recreation, so be careful of that. The second difficult thing is mile races. For some reason, she does not do so well in mile races, even if you raise her mile aptitude to A. Sometimes she will get second or third. And remember, if you get anything below first place for the 3 required races and Spring Stakes, your run will be ruined, at least for the URA scenario and the Unity Cup scenario. And if you don't believe me, you can check out Licking Light Bulb's video on S-Wrecking the Clanker, which I think was a pretty comedic video. The second part of this epithet is obtaining 1200 stamina. Granted, the Clanker is a front runner, thus she needs mostly speed and stamina, therefore it should be easier getting stamina. However, like I said before, training any stat other than speed to 1200 can be quite the challenge. In a way, the Clanker is similar to McQueen because both need 1200 stamina. However, when comparing the two Umas, I feel that the Clanker's epithet is much harder to get, because whereas McQueen only has 2 races to win, the Clanker has 3. McQueen may have one of the hardest races to win, the Tenor Spring, but it's definitely doable. Those 2 races are also at a point where your stats are pretty much developed and you have more skills. Besides, you don't have to win any other races in between or before or after any of these 2 races. You don't have to be the most popular for McQueen too, and best of all, you can run her in either front or pace, which makes it a bit easier. On the other hand, the Clanker needs to be most popular in all 3 races, needs to win without any losers between these 3 races, and they happen quite early in her career. Additionally, she does not perform well in mile races, which includes the Asahi High, Futurity Stakes and the Spring Stakes. Remember that you have to win both of these races in the URA scenario and the Unity Cup scenario. Japanese Derby can be a bit hard too, but not as hard as the aforementioned mile races. Overall, this epithet can be really hard to obtain, but it's not impossible. You'll definitely take some time to unlock this epithet, as I have seen some other players having difficulty to get this, and it could take days, weeks, even months to get it, but I'm sure you'll get it eventually. Alright, remember the revamped tier list I was talking about earlier? Now I am going to explain it in detail. Each Uma would have a score of 1 to 10 for each of the scenarios, with 1 being the easiest and 10 being the hardest. Then, the scores will be added and divided by 3 to get the average and final score, which determines how difficult getting the Uma epithet generally is. I have calculated the scores for all the Uma epithets I've gotten thus far, and yes, that includes the ones in this video and the ones that I have not talked about, which will be in the next epithet video. The Google Sheets link will be in the video's description. There, you can see the scores of the epithets. Take note that this is just my personal opinion on how easy or hard it is to get each epithet. There are some comments besides some Umas, and I have also changed some initial scores of some Umas, so I would like to address that, except for Kita-san Black, in which I will address that in the next epithet video. First, for Taigi Shato, I realized that the 5 length win can be a bit harder than I initially thought. Still, a relatively easy epithet to get. Most people should still be able to get this epithet. Ever since the Trailblazer scenario came out, it makes some of the Uma epithets easier to obtain. Let's start with King Halo. Her rival Umas can be either of the 4 opponent Umas she is looking for, and there might be 1 or 2 more in the races as usual. Not that much of a help, but hey, it is still something. For Matikane Fukukitaru and Ghost Ship, it is super easy now, since Trailblazer's aim is to put your Uma in as many races as you can. You can even earn lots of fans from it as a result, which is good, and in Ghost Ship's case, absolutely fantastic. The Uma gaining the biggest advantage from this scenario is winning ticket. Man, when I first set out to obtain her epithet during the Unity Cup scenario, it was hell, and I literally mean it. It took me months, as well as a lot of blood, sweat and tears to get it. To me, it was the hardest epithet I've obtained at that time. When Trailblazer came out, as you know, all secret events are gone. So that got me thinking, will this work on winning ticket? I mean, after all, in the Unity Cup and URA finale scenarios, the races were so hard because winning ticket couldn't be the most popular or number 1 favorite, as the opponent Narita Taishin and Biwa Hiyahide are way too buffed. I got curious, so I went ahead and tried it out. Turns out, in Trailblazer, every opponent is the same, and there are no secret events to boost their stats. Therefore, the Narita Taishin or Biwa Hiyahide appearing in the selected races are pretty weak. Thus, winning ticket is able to easily get the most popular or the number 1 favorite, and just like that, I got her epithet. I couldn't believe it. I took so long to get it in the first two scenarios, and out of a sudden in this track placer scenario, all it took me was 1 hour and a run to get it. That's really crazy. I wish I would have waited for this scenario to come out before attempting her epithet, but hey, at least I can say that I achieved her epithet the hard way. Hence, because winning ticket score is very low in the track placer scenario, she is ranked one tier lower because of her average score. For those looking to get her epithet, now is your best chance to get it, so don't miss out on this opportunity. The Uma with the least advantage from this scenario is Go City, and it's for a very simple reason actually. The practice levels. The track placer scenario, or the meant scenario is what they call it in Japan, is, no pun intended, meant to raise a lot to gain stats, so raising all of the training levels there is almost next to impossible. At most, your speed and one other stat will be level 4 or 5, and the training applications might come now and then, but the rest will be stuck at level 1, and training applications are very expensive. Thus, her track blazer score is the highest among her 3 scenario scores, though it ended up putting her in the same tier. For score wise, the first change I made was for Tokai Teo. Previously, I thought her epithet was really hard because I assumed you needed to be undefeated from Satsuki Sho to Aoyama Kinyan Senior Year, which is quite tough in the first 2 scenarios. However, I've seen some people able to achieve the epithet even though they lost races in between the Japanese Derby and the Aoyama Kinyan Senior Year. Turns out, Cygames didn't state the actual description clearly, and now that they changed it, alongside Bakushin's one. Tokai Teo's Monarch now requires you to win Satsuki Sho and Japanese Derby undefeated and then win the Aoyama Kinyan Senior Year, so you don't have to win races in between the Derby and Aoyama Kinyan Senior Year, which makes the epithet much easier. Therefore, I reduced her initial scores for both the URA scenario and the Unity Cup scenario. For Nice Nature, I increased her score because her epithet is truly RNG. Previously, I stated that you just need less stats and skills to get third. I underestimated its difficulty because other than that one time and the first time I got her epithet, I never got it again. I either keep winning races or losing them horribly, rarely getting a third. Other people have also told me that this epithet is one of the hardest, if not the hardest to get, and now I do see why. Here is an updated version of my epithets tier list. This concludes the epithet tier list version 4 video. Hopefully my tips are able to help you get a little closer to achieving the character specific epithet for your favorite Uma. If you like my umamusume content or any of my other videos, please consider subscribing to the channel and giving this video a like. I would really appreciate it. Once again, I wish you good luck in obtaining these epithets, and I hope that the 3 goddesses bless you. Thank you for watching and have a nice day or night.